Hey, I'm going to mod the Akko World Tour Tokyo 3068B keyboard today. I saw this online and I really like the color of the frame. Not the biggest fan of the keycaps, but I'm going to be replacing those. This is going to be a pretty basic video. I'm a casual enthusiast, so I don't want to spend more than like an hour or two modding things, but I figured I'd record things in case anyone else wants to follow along with some basic mods for their Akko keyboard. I'm still pretty amateur at making these videos, so you'll notice that the white balance for this video is pretty busted because the keyboard is so pink and there's not that much contrast. So sorry ahead of time as you realize that this is not going to be the best video. I'm also going to be doing live voiceover too, because I hate listening to my voice so much when I'm recording these things. So the first thing I'm going to do is take apart the keyboard. You don't actually have to take off all the keycaps, but I already plan on replacing the keycaps because I'm not the biggest fan of how these look. They're thick, they feel good, they sound good, but I have a set of white keycaps I think would look a little bit better on this keyboard, so we'll see what that looks like with the keycaps a little bit later. But right now, just taking a look at what the keycaps, and then little zoom in of the board here. You can actually see where the screw holes are. Oops, I just flipped it. But the bottom of the board here has these little feet, and it's pretty basic, right? Nothing crazy. I got these with jelly blue switches. They actually feel really good. So I'm gonna take off the 3 screws so we can open up the board here. Like I mentioned, you don't actually have to take off the keycaps. It's located under the backslash key, under the I and the O key, and under the tab key. So if you wanted to, you can just remove those keycaps to pull this out. And once you have those screws out, you're gonna wanna use something to pry the plastic frame from around the board. I'm using these plastic pry tools, but you can get away with probably the back of a spoon or a fork or a butter knife. But you just want to go around the entire frame here, prying the frame off of the keyboard. And I think I have a better shot after that shows exactly where these little grooves are. But if you just go around the frame and prying, they'll eventually come off like you see that I'm doing here. And this is my first time doing it, so I wasn't even sure if I was doing it right until I started seeing it actually fall apart right now. It's funny how bad this white balance is. The background and the keyboard just keep changing colors, so hopefully I get better at that in the future. But here you can see the grooves on the board here, so just used a pry tool around the frame where these little points are to make it easier for you. Once you have the frame off, you can go ahead and disconnect the battery from the PCB. These are pretty delicate, so just don't go ahead and ripping it. It's easy just to rip that wire right out of that connector, and it's kind of a headache to have to fix if you screw that up. But like I mentioned, I'm a casual enthusiast, so I don't want to do any mods that's going to require a lot of time, like lubing switches. I'm going to keep things pretty basic here. First thing I'm going to do is hit it with the tape mod. This is a pretty standard mod that I'm seeing a lot of YouTubers doing, where just get masking tape or some sort of non-conductive tape and you line the back of the PCB with it. I think I did 4 layers. This voiceover will be a good way for me to jog my memory. But essentially it acts as a low-pass filter, so it filters out some of the higher frequency sounds, so your keyboard just has that like deeper sound to it, so it sounds a little bit less hollow. I do it to all my keyboards and it's pretty nice. And the board has some holes for the standoffs and the screws, so you're going to want to cut out some holes in the tape so those can still fit into the board here. The way I do it is I hold the keyboard up to a light source, put an X-Acto knife into the hole, and then I just spin it around so it creates a little hole for the screws and the standoffs. Pretty simple process. And you're also going to want to make sure that you make a cutout for the power switch on the back. I screwed up and had to take my keyboard apart to do this, so don't forget to do that too. And the next mod I'm going to do is a foam mod, so you can use the foam that's included in the packaging. I'm going to use this higher quality dampening foam that I bought on Amazon. I'll link it in the description. But essentially what you're going to do is just take the foam and line the entire back of the keyboard case with it. It's going to dampen some of the sound, and it also adds a little bit of mass to the keyboard too, so when you're typing it doesn't feel so hollow, and it just makes the keyboard feel more premium since it weighs a little bit more, even though it's completely made out of plastic. And don't cover the battery because you want to make sure that the battery can still breathe and it doesn't overheat in the back there. But yeah, with the tape and the foam installed, it's time for reassembly. It's going to add a little bit of bulk, so you're gonna have to push down a good amount to get the keyboard back to the same shape that it was before the mods. There's this little plastic thing on the frame for the LED shine through, so just make sure that you put that into the frame. And the frame itself just snaps into place, so a little bit of pressure, push it down nice and hard till you feel a bunch of clicks, and that should be good to go. Put those screws in and your board's pretty much modded. It's just a matter of putting on some new keycaps if you wanted to now. I have these KBD fan NP profile keycaps. I use Mac, so it's nice to have Mac printing stuff on my keycaps. It's weird though that the English alphanumeric keys are more expensive, so that's why there's Japanese on my keys. I don't know any Japanese, but I didn't want to spend more money for English. And the last thing I'm going to do here is lube and grease my stabilizers. I'm doing this in a very lazy way. You probably shouldn't do it like this, but I was already reaching an hour and a half, and like I said, I'm catering to the casual enthusiast that just doesn't want to spend much time modding a keyboard before they actually get to use it. But yeah, these are the mods I'm going to do for this keyboard. Thanks for watching. Hopefully my next videos are a bit higher quality and I don't screw up with the capture, but here's a sound test on a Blue Yeti microphone. Cheers. Thanks everyone. Bye.